Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, I want to briefly talk about the goalkeepers again, talk about the situation as it stands over the international break, where we're at, what we think could happen, and some potential still departures that could go on. I want to talk about briefly Kobbie Mainoo's situation there, what he needs to do, talk about as well new doctor coming in, and I want to look at some progress and see, have United actually improved? Are the stats that we're seeing meaningful? Are the things that they're better at actually worth mentioning, or are they nothing? So let's get into it. First and foremost, I want to talk about keepers, because keepers, the situation obviously right now is that keepers have been a huge problem, obviously. We've signed Senna, Lammens for a reason. The keepers have been costing us points. The keepers have been costing us goals. We know we don't have a lot of confidence in the options at hand. But you see some kind of reports and things like that talking about how, maybe Lammens isn't coming in to be the guy right away. Well, obviously, nobody can really know for sure except Ruben Amorim what he's going to pick, what he sees in training with them, what he will witness, and what he will decide when we go into City in the first week. But a couple of things are notable that I think should be considered. Number one here is that, as far as I understand it, the keeper race is open. There is no established number one. There is nobody who is the number one keeper. There might have been earlier in summer, and it might have been Onana, but Bayindir has, of course, supplanted him in the Premier League, but they also bought a keeper simply because of some of the mistakes and issues that they've had with Bayindir as well. That's one of the reasons they pushed forward after kind of stalling on it a bit and ending up getting this over the line so urgently. It's also one of the main reasons they looked at someone like Emi Martinez, having somebody to come in and make an impact right away. So there is no number one keeper. I'm telling you that for a fact. In Ruben Amorim's mind, there is no number one. Who's the best keeper that he can see that he's going to feel the most confident in is who he's going to pick. So we don't have to worry in terms of, well, there's some hierarchy and there's some sort of politics at play. They're going to keep Lammens from playing. If Lammens looks good in training and Amorim has confidence in him, and he has to be able to make that decision and make that call, whether it's immediately at City or whether it takes a few days or weeks or something like that. He ultimately has to make that call himself. If Lammens looks good in training, he will play. So there's nothing to worry about there. In addition, I want to add that before the end of this international window, we could see Onana or Bayindir depart. There are certainly interests being fielded by United from clubs in Turkey and elsewhere for both Bayindir and Onana. I'm not sure where it's at the moment with regards to whether they would accept that move or not, whether they would take that move or not, but there is interest from Saudi and from Turkey, I think Turkey more especially, in them. And their windows are still open, and United would absolutely be willing to move on either keeper at this point in time. Now, where things kind of changed is, of course, Onana at one point might have been considered the number one, but a few things happened over preseason. One of them that is absolutely unbelievable when it's reported. I can't believe it. Number one is that he came back, of course, unfit, got injured right away. This was already extremely unimpressive to Ruben Amorim. But at the same time, he was asking for a new contract to make up essentially the wages lost due to the lack of Champions League football, which, by the way, brother, you had a large hand in. All you had to do was make one save against Tottenham. So, that really changed the idea of Ruben Amorim, and really, even though he did like Onana, was unbelievably, I think, perturbed and baffled by what happened with Onana over summer. And so again, that leads to the current state of things where there is no number one keeper. It is an open competition. It is up for grabs. There are 4 keepers at the club right now, some who may be gone by the end of the window. There's a possibility that at the end of the Turkish window that one of them is gone. There's definitely a possibility of that. But yeah, that's an interesting thing there. So don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Don't fret about this is my number 1 keeper. This isn't. Let's see what Ruben Amorim decides at the end of the day, at the end of this international break, what he sees from them, what he evaluates, who gets sold, who doesn't, and who's still there. And then let's see over the next days and weeks. Obviously, we all believe we need a keeper the new keeper needs to be starting like day 1 for all of us. I know we all feel that. We always do with new signings in general, but especially in this case, it's like we've already seen enough this season to start that new keeper. But if he looks good in training, I'm quite confident Ruben Amorim will start him. Now, obviously, the main thing he doesn't want to do is make sure he's not ready, not coordinated with the team, and then setting him up to fail, not because he's a bad keeper, but because he simply hasn't had the coordination on the training ground for a tough game against City. You don't want to set him up to make a mistake. You know, you want to make sure it's like if he's not ready, you don't want him making a mistake against City. You'd rather have one of your keepers making a mistake against City and getting him on soon. But I'm not concerned about it. I'm not concerned that Ruben won't pick him quickly. He will pick young players should they prove themselves to be capable. So I think he'll get going pretty quickly, but open competition. So as long as he's good in training, as long as he looks good to Ruben, and given what we've seen already, he should be ready to go very, very soon. And I do not think it's going to be like just a one for the future. I think this is a one for the now and the future. On Kobbie Mainoo, as I spoke a little bit about in yesterday's kind of transfer window wrap-up, in case you missed some of that, on Kobbie Mainoo's situation, United want to nail him down on a new contract. They do. They want to push for that with the window closed. They want to keep him. They want him to show and have it work both ways. They see it as a two-way street that United should use Kobbie Mainoo, but the United also need Kobbie Mainoo to commit to being a part of the club and to commit to his future. And there was a little bit of disappointment at the club that he felt the need with what happened after just a couple of games. Their feeling is over the span of the season, you would have seen he'd be playing a lot over the course of the year, getting more and more, getting grooved into that role. You know, but they want him to, and Ruben Amorim wants him to knuckle down and really learn what he needs to improve in this position, and really take on the role for potentially the future as they look at, you know, buying maybe 2 midfielders in a long term. They want him to be that guy, you know, that can be a part of that. So they see it as a two-way street as well. You know, they intend for him to get a lot more minutes and a lot more play, but at the same time, they also want him to commit and essentially show that he's got what it takes, you know, and wants to learn and wants to work towards that as well. So we'll see ideally conversations over the next few months. Hopefully they improve. Hopefully they get somewhere towards a conclusion, a positive conclusion on this. I don't, given the options are already light, United will be looking in the January window to a new midfielder, but given the options are already light, I'm not going to be happy if this ends up, you know, dragging on in a weird conflicting situation over the course of the next few months. That wouldn't be helpful for the season. So hopefully that isn't what we see there. But United don't intend that to be the case, and we'll hope they can get him to agree to a new contract. There is a new doctor in town. Now, obviously, we saw previously as I reported back on March 11th, that both Jim Moxon and Gary O'Driscoll would be departing from the club. Now, I also, again, broke the news of Dr. Imtiaz Ahmad joining from Crystal Palace. He's still serving a notice period right now. However, immediately today, report came from the El Bobble at Everton. Everton first team Dr. William Fotherby is to depart the club and join Manchester United. I'm told this is supposed to happen immediately, effective right away. He will be replacing Jim Moxon. So giving us another doctor at the club, as we're short at the moment. And so half of the replacements for the two doctors leaving now in the door. Nothing major on that. Haven't looked into much on him, but a very easy move for a local, essentially, at this point in time. So yeah, that's good. Just part of the long-term planning. Now I want to talk about progress here. And there's obviously, I was thinking, should I make a whole video on this? But frankly, when I looked at it, I was thinking, it's not really enough for a whole video. But I think I really wanted to cover that in this. And then I wanted to take a page out of Karolinka's questions here and that he put on Twitter and say, what is the best 11 then, given what we've seen? What are we looking for moving forward? I've got as well a tactical video that I'm putting together, similar to what I did after Fulham and after Arsenal, coming out tomorrow on this, where I was really interested to look at, was what we did against Burnley sustainable? Were we actually improving, or was it just that Burnley were bad? Because if you remember the tactics video against Fulham, there was things I pointed out where I said, look, I think it is real. United could actually be good. This isn't a tactical issue. This is a performance issue. This is a decision-making issue. This is getting things wrong on the pitch on multiple occasions. And I think that ties into progress because you can look at stats and things like that, and it could be just blips from playing a bad Burnley side or something like that that helped us, a positive blip, whatever you would call it. But the truth of the matter is, you'll see in this tactical video, really interesting, really, really interesting. I was very, it was just very interesting because, again, if you watch that Fulham one, you will see what we're getting wrong. And I think against Burnley, there's serious progress being made. That makes me feel very much more confident in the numbers here. But let's take a look at some of them because obviously there's been a bunch of numbers floating around talking about the different things that we're doing well. So we can start with kind of possession. United 5th in possession. That's good. Generally, good teams are good in possession, right? At the end of the day, you still have to have the ball more than the opposition. Expected goals. This is an obvious one. Good teams should be near the top of expected goals. Shots on target per match, you also want to be up there. We're tied for second. It says 4th, but it's 5.3. We're actually tied for second in expected in shots on target. And again, there's outliers, but when you're in a lot of these, that's a good thing. Liverpool and Chelsea near the top there. And again, if you look at like expected goals, West Ham are all the way down in 10th. So they're the outlier here. Us being tied in second and first on expected goals and shots on targets per match can only be a good thing. Big chances. We need to create more big chances, but we've made 6. Okay? That's not terrible. Obviously, Chelsea are like way ahead there, but City are at 8. Liverpool are lower, even though top of the table essentially. So the big chances number is decent. We'd like to make some more big chances. Accurate long balls per match. I've seen this one going around. This isn't really a marker of whether you're going to be good or not. This is style. But obviously, it'll tell you United are getting better at those long balls. And the reason I think it is worth mentioning is when you watch that video tomorrow, it's a part of Ruben Amorim's style. We need to be good at these for sure. So I expect we'll be up in those numbers for a long time. Accurate passes per match, United down here in 6th. That's not bad as well. Another decent measure, and I'll show you why I care about some of these things here soon. Big chances missed. We haven't made the most, but once again, 4. So tied for essentially 4th on big chances missed. As we know, accurate crosses. Crosses can be good, crosses can be bad. Touches in opposition box. This is a big stat. United are clear ahead of the rest of the competition in number 1, and these are good teams. When you look at the grouping, that's sort of how you can tell that they're good teams. In terms of XG conceded, United probably need to pick up on the defending a bit, 4.3. Mostly these are mistakes. Some of these big mistakes have cost us big expected goals. Some of these stats don't really matter, interceptions and such. I'll show you why. There's not much correlation, nor the same for expected tackles. This one's kind of big. Possessions won in the final third. Are we a good pressing side? Yes, we are. You can see a lot of correlation between good teams and good pressing, even though Newcastle are kind of at the bottom. So you would kind of look at those and say, wow, touches on opposition box, crossing, long balls, good on passing, decent on big chances, great in shots on target, great in expected goals. Do these mean anything? And that's where you got to look at the last year and say, what about the clubs that won the league? Well, expected goals, tops. Shot on target, tops. Big chances, tops. Accurate passes per match. Again, it's the same group in the top of all of these stats. Touches in opposition box, top. And then average possession as well. So when you look at it compared to last year, yes, these are meaningful stats. These are meaningful stats for performance. In fact, the biggest correlation in stats with the title winners is expected goals, shots on targets, and big chances. And we're first, second, and fourth on these things right now. That's really good. And you need to be up there in possession as well. So those are, and touches in opposition box. Like if I were to look at all these stats and say, what are the most important? Expected goals, shots on target per match, big chances, accurate passes, touches in opposition box. Those are the biggest markers of success, of title-winning teams, of the best teams in the league. Long balls, like I said, is more stylistic. Well, first, second, fourth, fifth, first. United are looking good in a lot of these areas and around fifth here as well. If we head over to some other stats, and I apologize for the blinding light here, you can see again total shots on target, total shots high, possession as we know kind of down in sixth. There's some other important stats I wanted to show here. Let's see, shots on target. There you go, tied for second. We saw that already. This is one area I think we need to do better in terms of dribbling. We still don't dribble the ball enough. Some of that's because we're long ball FC at the moment, which is okay, but we do need to do more. This is one where I've seen people try to say we're bad because we have a low XG per shot. We take a lot of shots, but they're low chances, but it's basically the same. I mean, you can have too high a number where you don't take enough shots. Like you look at Crystal Palace, they have a higher quality of shots when they take them, but they don't take that many. The best thing is high volume and in a decent range. We're actually in the right spot from my money for where we're at. Liverpool have a lower XG per shot, and they're scoring the most goals. But this is the biggest thing. They're finishing 8 goals on 3.67 XG, whereas we have the worst differential. We just need to take our chances. There's really nothing else to it. We need to take our chances. One of the reasons I wanted to point out this tackles per game stat, why it's not could be like an outlier on all of this, is why you have to kind of bear in mind what stats actually correlate to team success. Again, shots, right? So that's good. Possession, you can be, as long as you're somewhere in this top range, that tends to be pretty good. You got to have possession. If you look at tackles per game, last year we were first and we were terrible. If you look at interceptions per game, last year we were first and we were terrible. So, where you look at some of the best teams have low interceptions and low tackles. Why? Because they hold the ball well. They hold the ball well. They control the game well. So you don't need to be at the top of this. So just bear that in mind. Some stats aren't particularly meaningful. But again, shots per game, very meaningful. Shots on target per game, very meaningful. Dribbles. It doesn't have to be everything. Liverpool play a bit of long ball at times too. But you can see we were at the bottom last year on dribbling. And most of not all, but there's a decent correlation to teams being good dribblers and succeeding. I think that's still an area we've got to improve. And then obviously, expected goals. And if you look at the expected goals per shot, we could do a little bit better, but decent teams, title winners were slightly higher than we are now, but it wasn't bad. Last year we ended up at the bottom. So we have to make sure we don't do that as well. End up as one of the worst shooting teams, too many speculative efforts. So it's an area we could improve a little bit, but at the moment, not necessarily a cause for concern as well. And then there was one more thing I wanted to show here, which was, I think it was shot zones in the 6-yard box, in the 18-yard box, out of the box. So, you don't want to take too many speculative efforts from outside. We did that last season, tons of shots outside the box, where you look at Liverpool, Arsenal and such, they don't take a lot of shots outside the box. They take a lot of shots inside the box and in the 6-yard box. That's where we need to be. If we look at this season to say, are we getting quality chances? Because we've taken a lot of shots in general. Let's see here. Let me find it correctly. Shot zones. So, see, we're not. We're at 28%. We're not getting enough in the 6-yard box, but we're taking tons of shots from inside the box. So I'm not worried about that. So I think that there's some people trying to play down, the progress being made, some of the shots and things like that, saying they're all low quality chances. They're not. We're not taking tons of pot shots from outside the box like we were last season. We are creating good quality chances. We just have to finish them. It's early on, but the good signs are there. Let yourself be positive about those things. If it was bad, people would be ready to run. If everything was bad and the numbers were bad, people wouldn't say, oh, it's just 3 games. They'd be saying it's terrible, it's awful, it's shit, we're terrible. Look at these numbers, they're bad. So since they're good, take the good, man. Just take the good. I think it looks pretty good to me. But yeah, there's serious progress. And watch the tactics video tomorrow and watch the Fulham one if you haven't yet. Because when you see the comparison between the two, you will know we are making progress. It's not an accident, that performance against Burnley, and it's not just because it's Burnley. They did a lot of the exact same things that Fulham did. We executed certain aspects way better, especially, have to mention, from Bruno Fernandes. When I watched the game, I wasn't sure how good of a game he had. When I watch it back, I think he had a really good game, actually. And I think he was definitely getting it. Somebody else didn't, and they were one of the bigger problems during the game. But huge progress being made in the way that United want to play, and I think it's very replicable, and I think they're really finding their feet in solving problems in the system. Let's look quickly at the best 11, and I want to get your guys' thoughts below after this on the best 11 and what you think our best 11 is now. When I take a look at it, it's hard to measure kind of yet because we haven't really seen Benjamin Šeško, but I'm quite certain he needs to get going. I think it's hard for me to drop Mason Mount. I'm not going to lie to you. It really is hard for me to drop Mason Mount. I've debated this a few times, but I do think that the pace in behind when I watch the games, the running, the speed, Mason Mount helps us play football really well. But we do lack a little something on that left side with him in the 10 in terms of the runs in behind that we get from like Mbumo at the right time and things like that as well. And it's interesting there. So it's hard for me. I'm tempted to almost put Cunha up here and Mount in there until we see more. I still think this is, for me, Patrick Dorgu. Dowlow has his pluses, but he has his serious minuses that I can't overlook as well. Some big mistakes, in my opinion. Ahmad, we can see as he gets going, he's still the best guy out there. I still think this is going to be Bruno. In looking at it, if he can do what he did against Burnley and keep getting it with the system, then it's going to be him. In my rewatch as well, I'm putting Kobbie Mainoo in here. I really want to see us try this. I don't see too much of the downside. Every time I keep watching, I go, I'm not seeing what Casemiro is bringing to the table. There's a couple of things he does, but there's so many moments where we're at a loss because of him. Luke Shaw had an amazing game against Burnley, by the way. I'll touch on that point there, but he had a really, really good game against Burnley. He had a good game against Arsenal as well. Mediocre against Fulham, lacked aggression. De Ligt, there was a couple little blips against Burnley, I'm not going to lie, in terms of the goal. And another chance that should happen from a defensive standpoint. But he's still doing a lot of other things very, very well. Still, if we're going to face a lot of attacking, maybe in City, I'm still thinking of getting Maguire on, maybe shifting De Ligt to one of the sides. But De Ligt's been really good this season. So right now he's in my best 11. But there was a couple little things against Burnley he's got to shape up on that were just basics of defending, which I was surprised to see him mess up, but could have cost us maybe 2 goals even if we hadn't messed up more. Lenny Yoro, a clear lock in that position. And I don't even have to see Lammens play. He's our best keeper. This is my 11. It's changed a little, not much from the start of the season. I don't think we need a number 6 necessarily in every game. I really don't. The more I watch it, the more I don't think we do. With the aggression we're seeing from the center backs and the fact that we have 3 defenders on the pitch, I don't think we always need. I really don't think we always need this. I really don't. I really don't think we always need an actual 6 here. Someone who can take care of the ball and make some tackles is enough for me. I think Kobbie could do that job, pick up the ball off the back line as necessary, and move it. One thing he does have to improve upon is getting the ball out wide, but Casemiro's not particularly doing it well right now either. So this would be it. I'm debating Mount in here because he's been so useful, and right now we're playing better with Mount and Cunha than we are otherwise, but we haven't seen Šeško start. Couple things there. I still think Dorgu will come good as the system improves. Dalot was good at certain things, created a good goal, but I kind of wish we'd seen Dorgu in that game because the spaces that Dalot was finding, Dorgu was finding against Fulham, but we weren't finding him with the ball. So, yeah, that's what I hope to see. But this is my best 11 right now. This is what I would run out against City. Actually, you might say, well, that's not enough defending, but I would run this out against City. Maybe. I might put Maguire on. I need somebody maybe with a little more height in here, Maguire or Casemiro, but I would consider running this out against City. Now, Cunha's probably not going to be fit, so you're probably running Xerxes here and Šeško up here, but this is what I would run. If you put Xerxes in there, that does add you with a little bit of height as well. So that's my best 11. On the injury front, as I'm told, don't believe it's serious for either Mount or Cunha, but I'd be surprised if they make the City game, but they shouldn't be out too long, a couple weeks, hopefully back in time as well for Chelsea. That's what I've got for today's video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to catch up on tomorrow's Tactics show. I don't think I'll be live this afternoon as I have a bit to do, but thank you for watching today's video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next one.